All right. Welcome, everyone. This is the Harris County Flood Control District's virtual community engagement meeting about the Greens Bayou Mid-Reach Channel Conveyance Improvements Project, which we will refer to as the Greens Mid-Reach Project for short. Thank you for joining us. This is a meeting all about keeping you informed and hearing your thoughts about what's being done to reduce the risk of flooding in your area. Your input truly matters to our work, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here. I am Robert Fricke with the Flood Control District Communications team, and I am joined by our leaders and experts to answer your questions and make sure you have the latest information about important flood mitigation efforts in your community. It's great to see people engaged in this project, and we look forward to keeping this conversation going. Thank you again for being here. Before we dive in, we have a pre-recorded message from Harris County Precinct 2 Commissioner Adrian Garcia.
Everybody, I'm Adrian Garcia, Harris County Precinct 2 Commissioner. I want to begin with sincerely thanking everyone for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us this evening. I want you, our Precinct 2 residents, to know that we are here and ready to work for you. I want to begin by also thanking the Harris County Flood Control District for hosting this event. Tonight, we're here to learn about a project that reduces flooding in your community. We know this is top of mind for many families who have already been repeatedly impacted by flooding in their neighborhoods. As a part of my Revive to Thrive initiative, this flood prevention effort will help protect your community and make a major step toward ensuring there are fair and equitable opportunities for communities throughout Precinct 2. With Revive to Thrive, my goal is to focus on revitalization rather than allowing gentrification to be the sole contributor to improvements in our communities. By empowering communities and creating opportunities for existing neighborhoods to be more resilient, inclusive, and thriving with the right investments, resources, infrastructure commitment, and community involvement, we can all progress and thrive. Harris County works best when all communities are thriving. I am proud to be from Precinct 2, and I want everyone to know this is a great community and the greatest place to live, work, and play. This is one of the many flood mitigation projects happening in Precinct 2, aimed at improving our drainage systems to help minimize the impact of major rain events. Quality infrastructure is not only my responsibility as your county commissioner, but it is also one of my top priorities. Therefore, I've asked my team to take action and demonstrate real progress to address our community's needs with projects that make a difference and make us better prepared to weather the next storm. I hope you continue to stay engaged in this process. It's important to remember that your voice, your experience, your opinions do matter. Again, we're thankful that you joined us tonight. If you need to get in touch with my office, please visit our website, hcp2.com, hcp2.com, or call us at our call center at 713-274-2222, or follow us on all the social media platforms. We are on every major platform, including TikTok. Our doors are always open, and my team and I are happy to support you in whatever we can. Thank you, and have a good evening, and have a great meeting. Thank you.
Thank you to Commissioner Garcia. To kick things off, we'll have a presentation to let you know more about who we are and what we do. Then we'll give an overview of the Greens Bayou Mid-Reach Channel Conveyance Improvements Project, including key details about the project design, timeline, and the next steps. After that, we'll move into a Q&A session where you'll have a chance to ask questions directly to the Flood Control District team. You can submit comments and questions through this virtual meeting's Q&A feature, by the way. We'll also cover some of the most common questions we get from the public. If we don't get to your question tonight, don't worry. We'll be sure to follow up with response after the meeting. And I'll also go over these instructions again when we get to the Q&A section. I will now hand things over to Herman Sanders, Project Communications Specialist, who will share information about the Flood Control District and this project. Herman, please take it from here.
Thank you, Robert, and a big thanks to everyone here with us. I want to start by sharing a bit about the Flood Control District and the work we do. So, what is the Harris County Flood Control District? In 1937, after back-to-back devastating floods hit the Houston area, The Texas legislature created the Harris County Flood Control District to help reduce flood risks throughout the county. Today, we are governed by the Harris County Commissioners Court, and we work closely with other local and federal agencies. One of the key reasons we were originally created by the state of Texas was to serve as a local partner to help bring in federal funding for flood damage reduction projects. And over the past almost 90 years, our scope has expanded. We've invested billions of dollars in flood damage reduction projects throughout Harris County, funded through federal, state, and local resources. In addition to these capital projects, voters approved a property tax rate increase in 2024. These tax dollars added about $100 million annually for maintenance efforts to help keep our flood damage reduction infrastructure working as it was designed and remain effective for generations to come. The Flood Control District is incredibly unique in its mission. In addition to the unincorporated areas of Harris County, we also have 32 municipalities within our boundaries. Our agency can partner with these other cities, precincts, and local agencies to work together on flood risk reduction projects at both the local and regional level. So, not only do we plan and implement new projects that expand and improve our drainage network, but we also have maintenance teams working day in and day out to keep our bayous and channels ready when the next storm hits. In fact, it's built into our mission to plan, implement, and maintain flood risk reduction projects guided by community and natural values. That last part, guided by community and natural values, is so central to who we are. And it's also one of the most difficult challenges we face. Building projects that not only reduce the risk of flooding, but also respects the needs of the community and the environment, especially in a highly urbanized area such as Harris County. That's why your input at meetings like this matter so much. I'm sure it's safe to say that everyone joining us tonight probably knows that Harris County is prone to flooding. But why? Not only do we have extreme rainfall events like tropical storms and hurricanes, but our land is flat, which means stormwater often moves slowly when making its way to bayous and channels. In most parts of the county are clay soils that don't absorb stormwater quickly. Instead of being absorbed, stormwater just collects on the ground, creating a pooling effect, thereby increasing the risk of flooding. At the Harris County Flood Control District, we know the idea of flooding is a top safety concern for everyone who lives here. It's our job to reduce the risk. We are actively working on flood risk reduction projects across Harris County as shown on this map, separated by color-coded watersheds. But what is a watershed exactly? First thing you might notice is that each watershed is named based on a nearby bayou or body of water. So each watershed is actually the color-coded area of land around the major bayou or body of water, indicating where stormwater is expected to ultimately drain if rain were to fall in that region. Harris County is comprised of a vast and impressive system of bayous, tributaries, and other important waterways that make up each of the 23 watersheds. If you straightened out all of our winding channels and lined them up from end to end, they would stretch from New York to California, more than 2,500 linear miles. The project we are presenting tonight is an important part of the county's drainage network, located in the Greens Bayou watershed. Bayous and channels are just one piece of the drainage network, as you'll see here on this slide that illustrates jurisdictions. And while the Flood Control District plays a critical role in reducing flood risks, we're part of a much larger effort. At your home and in neighborhoods all across the county, storm sewers and roadside ditches collect stormwater runoff and move it away from homes and streets. Those drainage systems are typically managed by either the Harris County Engineering Department, a municipal utility district, or a city like the city of Houston. The stormwater then makes its way to the larger bayous and channels before it finally heads out to Galveston Bay. We take our role in flood risk reduction for Harris County very seriously, and we leverage different types of funding opportunities for projects that can help reduce the risk of flooding in our region. One very important source of funding comes from the 2018 bond program. Back in August 2018, Harris County voters approved $2.5 billion in bonds for flood risk reduction projects across the county. This decision didn't happen overnight. Before the election, we held 23 community meetings, one in each watershed, because we wanted to hear directly from residents about their priorities and concerns. Those conversations helped shape what is now a list of 181 bond IDs, of which more than 20% were added directly from community input. Each bond ID can include multiple projects. The actual timing of each bond project depends on several things like funding, environmental permitting, right-of-way acquisition, utility relocation, and specific grant requirements. It's important to note that even though voters approved $2.5 billion for the 2018 bond program, the estimated total cost of every project on our bond project list is actually much higher than that. From the very beginning, we've been clear. In order to see all bond projects through construction, we would need funding partners. Think of it this way. Multiple bond IDs on the list were funded for a feasibility study or preliminary engineering to see what projects may be possible to reduce the risk of flooding in certain parts of the county. Without this important first step in the project life cycle, it is important and it is impossible to know what potential projects are even possible or determine how much it might cost. Each funding partner has its own guidelines. Some have specific requirements for the types of projects they will consider funding, while others may require a local funding contribution. The Flood Control District has an experienced and dedicated team that works very hard to match each project with the right funding opportunities, making sure we maximize every dollar to bring the most benefits to the community. Now I'll share a little more information on the total cost and funding partners for this project. First, the estimated total project budget for the entire Greens Mid-Reach project charter is about $155 million. I want to highlight one funding partner for this project, and it's the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, also known as HUD. The Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Program is one of the funding programs under HUD. Disaster recovery funding is focused on projects helping communities with long-term recovery after a federally declared disaster. Hurricane Harvey, which hit Harris County in 2017, is the federally declared disaster that allows the Flood Control District to apply for the disaster relief funding. The Texas General Land Office, or GLO, administers the grant program at the state level for HUD. This means the GLO distributes funds to local, county, and state agencies that apply for and are approved to receive funding for projects benefiting areas directly impacted by Hurricane Harvey. The Flood Control District has been awarded approximately $322 million for projects meeting the funding program's requirements. The Greens Mid-Reach project is receiving $46 million in CDBG disaster recovery funding. This project's service area was determined to benefit households where at least 50% of the population meets the federal classification of low to moderate income. All flood control district projects receiving CDBG disaster recovery funds must be completed by February 28, 2027. I previously mentioned several sources that fund projects by the Flood Control District. Let's take a look at each of the funding sources for this project. First, after voter approval of the 2018 bond, the Flood Control District initiated bond ID C-20 for this project. The 2018 bond program allocated $20.7 million for this project for preliminary engineering and design efforts. As we mentioned, we also secured $46 million in a community development block grant through the disaster recovery program. The current estimated project budget for the first segment of this of the recommended alternative is about $40 million. All non-CDBG funding sources must be applied to this project prior to our ability to utilize CDBG disaster recovery funds. Now that we've shared some key background information, we'll get into the important details about this project. Before we do, just a quick reminder, we would love to hear from you. As we go through the project details, please feel free to drop any questions or comments into the Q&A box. And with that, I'll hand it over to Imelda Diaz, the program manager for this project. Imelda, over to you.
Thank you, Herman. First, I'll briefly share some background details about the project, including where it's located, the recommended design, timeline, and next steps. So this project is located in the Greens Bayou watershed, which is shown on the map in light gray. The upper reaches of Greens Bayou flow east, and the lower reach flows south into the Houston Ship Channel. The watershed covers approximately 212 square miles, and there are about 308 miles of open streams, including the primary streams and the tributary channels. The watershed includes 3 major channels: Greens Bayou, Garner's Bayou, and Reinhardt Bayou. Hall's Bayou is a separate watershed, but it drains into Greens Bayou as a tributary. Storm surges can influence flooding levels along the lower 10 miles of the watershed, which is a portion of lower Greens Bayou just downstream of US 90. When we look at Greens Bayou, we can divide the watershed into 3 areas. We have the upper Greens Bayou, which is from Cutton Road to Veterans Memorial Drive, the mid-reach area, which is from Veterans Memorial Drive to JFK Boulevard, and lower Greens Bayou, which is from JFK Boulevard to the confluence with the Houston Ship Channel. Each of these areas have their own flood mitigation strategies and their own visions. Tonight, we are focusing on the mid-reach area. So where are we with the project today? The visual on this slide shows the standard project life cycle of a flood risk reduction project. While every project is unique, they all follow a similar path, and there are certain milestones we expect to hit along the way. This project is nearing the end of the design stage. We're aiming to have this life cycle stage completed by late 2025. There are additional steps required prior to starting construction, but we anticipate breaking ground on this project by the second quarter of 2026. We'll talk more about the next steps in a few minutes, but first, let's take a closer look at the project area and the recommended design. This map shows the Greens mid-reach channel conveyance improvements between JFK Boulevard and Veterans Memorial Drive. The first segment, shown in red, will construct channel conveyance improvements from JFK Boulevard to just east of the future Hardy Stormwater Detention Basin. Segment 2, shown in yellow, will extend the channel conveyance improvements from the future Hardy Basin to I-45. And segment 3, shown in green, will extend from I-45 to Veterans Memorial Drive. Updates on those future segments will be shared when those schedules and details become available. I want to take a moment to define what we call channel conveyance improvements and explain how they help with flood protection. Simply put, channel conveyance improvements are man-made changes to a waterway that help it move more water, especially during heavy rain events. These modifications help reduce flood damage by giving the channel more space to carry the water through. This can be done in a couple of ways, such as by widening and or deepening the channel, or by clearing out vegetation to reduce friction. We also want to point out that the Greens Mid-Reach project will be mitigated by 5 large stormwater detention basins. 4 of the 5 stormwater detention basins have already been constructed and include the Kirkendall, Glen Forest, Aldine Westfield, and the Lauder basins. The 5th basin, the Hardy Stormwater Detention Basin, is currently in the planning stage. As mentioned before, the Flood Control District is a no adverse impact agency. That means we do not allow our projects to reduce flooding risks for one area while increasing the risks somewhere else. That's why stormwater detention basins are often built before or at the same time as channel conveyance improvements to prevent any unintended impacts downstream. So first, we create an area to allow us to store the excess stormwater. Then we find ways, such as channel widening, to move the rest of the stormwater out of the area even faster. Shown on this slide is the existing conditions that necessitated this project. Currently, most stretches of the Greens Bayou Midreach have less than a 10-year stormwater carrying capacity. Flooding of homes and businesses along the Greens Bayou Midreach has occurred numerous times in the last 30 years, with devastating flood levels throughout the watershed brought on by Tropical Storm Allison in 2001 and Hurricane Harvey in 2017. Significant floodplains and residential developments constructed along Greens Bayou decades ago and prior to the modern building elevation requirements have resulted in significant damages during flood events. I want to take a few minutes to cover another term mentioned earlier. Throughout the presentation, we will be using terms like 100-year event and annual chance event. I want to clarify what that means. So a 1% annual chance event or 100-year event is a rainfall event that has a 1% chance of occurring in any given year. That doesn't mean that if you have a 1% annual chance event this year, you are good for another 100 years. It is simply a measure of the expected frequency based on the historical data that we have. By the same token, a 10% annual chance or a 10-year event is a rainfall event that has a 10% chance of occurring in any given year. Further examples are shown in this slide. I think it is important to remind you that the precipitation depths for each of the specified frequencies are based on statistical data, and they are not related to each other. For instance, a 10-year event does not have 5 times as much rainfall as a 2-year event. And a 100-year storm does not have 10 times the rainfall of a 10-year storm. Finally, the floodway, shown in the darkest blue shade of blue, is where the water is likely to be deepest and fastest. It is the area of the floodplain that should be reserved and kept free of obstructions to allow flood waters to move downstream. In 2022, during the preliminary engineering stage, the recommended project alternative was revised to increase the system capacity along the 11-mile stretch of Greens Bayou. The revised approach maximized the use of the available right-of-way to achieve an increase to a 25-year system capacity. Almost most of the Greens Bayou Reach project area will have that system capacity. The recommended alternative for segment 1, shown on this map as the segment between JFK Boulevard to just east of the future stormwater detention basin, includes channel improvements with grass-lined side slopes and shelves. None of the bridges in segment 1 of the Greens Midreach project will be modified or reconstructed. This slide shows the project's estimated benefits for the flood risk reduction in segment 1 only. As a reminder, this is the segment between JFK Boulevard to just east of the future Hardy Stormwater Detention Basin. As you can see on the chart, the project is estimated to remove the 100-year floodplain from more than 400 structures. The 100-year floodplain will also be removed from about 15 miles of roadway. And the 100-year floodplain will be removed from more than 450 acres of land. This slide shows the project's estimated benefits for the entire Greens Bayou watershed once all 3 project segments are completed. As you can see on the chart, the project is estimated to remove the 100-year floodplain for more than 1,100 structures. The 100-year floodplain will be removed from 32 miles of roadway near the Greens Bayou main stem. And the 100-year floodplain will be removed from more than 1,400 acres of land. Additionally, the water surface elevations in the area are expected to be decreased by up to 2 feet. When we say water surface elevations decreased, we mean that if a particular storm event occurs today, it will cause the channel to rise to a specific level today before the project is completed. But after the project is completed, that same specific storm event would produce a water level in the channel that's lower than before. So that flood risk to homes and people is now lower. Overall, the benefit area of the project is estimated to reach more than 7,000 people who live near the area. This total does not include the benefit of people who commute throughout the area every day, which would further increase this estimated total benefit. Now that I have provided an update on the current design and the project benefits, let's take a look at the outlook for the Greens Midreach project and our next steps. When following a project life cycle, after the design stage comes the construction stage. As part of our standard practice, the Flood Control District will advertise the project for bids. We anticipate this happening in the first quarter of 2026. After the bids are received and reviewed, the contract will be awarded after approval from Harris County Commissioners Court. So based on our current timeline, we anticipate construction to start on the first segment of the Greens Midreach project by the second quarter of 2026. If everything progresses according to plan, construction for the first segment could be completed by the first quarter of 2027. We do not currently have a timeline for segments 2 and 3, but as details become available, we will provide an update to the community. Please make sure you sign up for our mailing list by visiting hcfcd.org/C-20 and submitting a comment. Again, we appreciate you attending this meeting to listen and learn more about our work. It's now time to hear any questions and comments that you'd like to ask or share. So I will hand it back to Robert to kick off the Q&A.
Thanks, Imelda. Before we move into the Q&A, I just want to say again that we truly value your input. Your feedback helps shape this project and others happening across all Harris County. Every comment and question we get tonight will be considered as we move forward, and the conversation doesn't end here. If you'd like to stay updated, ask more questions, or sign up for our mailing list, please visit hcfcd.org/C-20. As a reminder, you can use the Q&A feature through this virtual meeting to submit a question or comment while we're together tonight. I want to point out again that any questions that we don't get to during tonight's Q&A will receive a response after the meeting. Information from this meeting and a recording of this live stream will be available on our website and YouTube channel. Joining Imelda for our Q&A session tonight are Floor, Yusuf, and Samson with the project team. Now it's time to take some of your questions. Floor, this first question is for you. Could you please recap the project for those who may have joined the meeting a little late regarding by restating the project objectives, please?
Thank you, Rob. Of course. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. If you could switch to slide 24, I will talk a little bit and refresh the project. The overall Greens Bayou Midreach project's aim is to reduce flooding by decreasing water surface elevations along Greens Bayou between JFK Boulevard and Veterans Memorial Drive. The project will be conducted in 3 segments, with segment 1 from JFK Boulevard to just east of the future Hardy Stormwater Detention Basin, which is estimated to start construction next year. Now let's talk about some key points. The project is designed to maximize the available right-of-way, and along with the recently constructed stormwater basins, it will achieve a 25-year system capacity along the Greens Bayou Midreach. Segment 1 of the Greens Midreach project will make channel conveyance improvements using grass-lined slopes with no impacts to existing bridges between JFK Boulevard and the future Hardy Stormwater Detention Basin. And that's a little summary of the project.
Thanks, Flora. Our next question is for Samson. Samson, this was also touched on during the presentation, but can you talk a bit more about the funding sources for this project, please?
Sure. This project is a great example of how we fund projects with multiple funding sources. Sometimes it's difficult to convey the scale of the projects or the scale of the need for flood risk reduction projects and how that translates to some substantial costs. So when we look to find funding sources, we often have to seek multiple partners. The Greens Bio Midreach project is being funded by multiple sources, including $46 million from the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Program and approximately $12 million from the 2018 bond program.
All right. Thanks, Samson. Our next question is for Yusuf. Yusuf, let's take a chance to highlight one of the questions that we usually get asked by residents. What are the anticipated benefits of this project?
Sure. The overall Greens Bayou Midreach project is estimated to remove the 100-year floodplain from more than 1,000 structures. If you go to the next slide. And additionally, the 100-year floodplain will be removed from approximately 32 miles of roadway and from more than 1,000 acres in the project area. So what that means is that during a heavy rain event, the channels won't get as overwhelmed as they might without the project. And the first segment to be constructed between JFK Boulevard to just east of the Hardy Stormwater Detention Basin is estimated to remove the 100-year floodplain from more than 400 structures. So segment 1 is estimated to remove more than 400 structures. And additionally, the 100-year floodplain will be removed from about 15 miles of roadway and from more than 450 acres in the project area. Thank you.
Thanks, Yusuf. And Imelda, Dalia is asking how to receive this information in Spanish. Can you answer her question in Spanish, please?
Sí, para Delia, muchas gracias por tomarse el tiempo de compartir su pregunta con nosotros. La hemos recibido y con gusto le vamos a responder la respuesta en los próximos días. Pero en el momento apreciamos su interés y participación y espere una respuesta de nosotros.
Thank you, Imelda. Our next question is for Samson. Samson, earlier you mentioned the term 100-year storm event, and this is a frequently asked question by the news media and Harris County residents, especially after our area received a lot of rain in a very short period of time. What classifies as a 100-year storm or a 500-year storm? It sounds like it means like those rainfall events should only happen once in 100 years or 500 years, but that's not the case. Can you elaborate on that, please, Samson?
Sure. So the term 100-year storm event is often misunderstood to mean that it can or will only occur once every 100 years. In actuality, a 100-year storm event has a 1% chance of occurring in any given year. And a 26% chance of occurring during a 30-year period of time. On the other hand, a 500-year storm event has a 0.2% chance of occurring in any given year.
All right, thanks, Samson. So I do want to point out again, I see we've had a few people join. I just want to say that any questions we don't get to during tonight's Q&A will receive a response after the meeting. And you can use the Q&A feature through the virtual meeting here to submit a question or comment while we're here tonight. Also, of course, a recording of this live stream will be available on our website and our YouTube channel as well. So if you want to watch it afterwards, it will be there. All right, our next question is for Floor. Floor, what are the other components of the Greens Bayou Midreach project beyond this first segment?
Yes, Rob, thank you. As you can see on the slide, the overall Greens Mid-Reach project channel conveyance improvements in stormwater detention basin storage between JFK Boulevard and Veterans Memorial is just the first segment. This segment will construct channel conveyance from JFK Boulevard just east to the future Hardy Stormwater Detention Basin. Segment 2 will extend channel conveyance improvement from the future Hardy Basin to 45. And segment 3, shown in green, will extend from I-45 to Veterans Memorial Drive. Additionally, the Greens Mid-Reach project will be mitigated by 5 large stormwater detention basins. 4 of the 5 stormwater detention basins have been constructed and include the Kirkendall, Glen Forest, Aldine Westfield, and Lauder basins. The 5th basin, the Hardy Stormwater Detention Basin, will be constructed in the near future. For more information about the Greens Bayou Mid-Reach projects, please go to hcfcd.org/C/20. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Flor. And I think we have a few more people who just joined in. Just want to remind everyone how to submit. There's a Q&A feature through this virtual meeting. You can submit a comment or question while we're here tonight. And any question that we don't get to during tonight's Q&A, we will respond to after the meeting. All right, our next question is for Flor. Or anybody who can respond. Wanda is asking what subdivisions will benefit from this improvement.
Hi, Wanda.
Sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say I can't speak to the specific subdivisions, but I will say that the project, if you could go back to the slide that had the 3 different segments, the different colored segment 1, 2, and 3, it will benefit the entire mid-reach as well as a significant portion of the upper reach as well, but primarily the benefits will be focused on the entire, Greens Bayou watershed within the mid-reach itself. So from JFK to Veterans Memorial Drive, that whole strip segment will be benefited.
All right, thanks, Yusuf. Our next question is for Samson. Samson, what type of federal funding is supporting the Greens Bayou Mid-Reach projects?
Sure. So federally, we have secured funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development through the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Grant Program in the amount of $46 million. And locally, the 2018 bond program has allocated $12.7 million for this project's preliminary engineering and design efforts. The flood control district will continue to seek additional funding partners to assist with the future project segments and detention basin projects.
Thanks, Samson. Our next question is for Yusuf. Yusuf, aside from the flooding issues and the specific project details we are discussing tonight, can you please describe the general characteristics of Greens Bayou, please?
Sure thing. As previously mentioned, the Greens Bayou watershed covers about 212 square miles, and there's about 308 miles of open streams, including the primary streams and tributary channels. Tributary channels include Garner's Bayou and Reinhardt Bayou, and Hall's Bayou is a separate watershed, but it drains into Greens Bayou as a tributary in the lower Greens portion, so downstream of the mid-reach. This watershed is highly developed, and it's one of the more populous watersheds in the entire county.
All right, thanks, Yusuf. Imelda, we've had a few other people join. Would you mind repeating that statement in Spanish that you said earlier regarding Delia's question?
Sí, para los que hablan español, muchas gracias por tomarse el tiempo de compartir sus preguntas con nosotros. Hemos recibido todas las preguntas y con gusto le daremos una respuesta en los próximos días. Pero mientras apreciamos mucho su interés y su participación.
All right. Thank you, Imelda. One of the key project objectives is reducing water surface elevations along Hollis Bayou. Samson, can you describe how that will reduce the risk of flooding in the project area?
Sure. So this means that a particular storm event will cause Greens Bayou to rise to a specific level today before the project occurs. But after the project is completed, that same storm event could produce a lower water level in Greens Bayou than before, effectively reducing the flood risk to buildings and residents.
All right. Thank you, Samson. And our next question is for Yusuf. Yusuf, Colleen is asking which segment includes the Hardy Stormwater Detention Basin?
Hi, Colleen. Thank you for your question. The Hardy Basin is part of segment 2. So as we mentioned earlier, segment 1 is we're going to hopefully go to construction on that early next year. But yes, the Hardy Basin is part of segment 2.
All right. Thank you, sir. And also sticking with you for this question, Yusuf, can you tell us again what the next steps for this project are real quick?
Yes. So from here, the team will review public feedback from this meeting and will finalize the project design. And then after that, we expect that the design plans will be transmitted to Harris County Commissioners Court by the end of the fourth quarter of 2025. And the team will next advertise for bid the construction of segment 1 in the first quarter of 2026. And based on our current timeline, we anticipate construction to start on the first segment of the mid-reach project by the second quarter of 2026. And if everything progresses according to plan, construction for the first segment could be completed by the first quarter of 2027. Thank you.
Thanks, Yusuf. Our next question is for Samson. Samson, can you go ahead and please describe the flow control district maintenance and upkeep responsibilities associated with this project?
Yep, generally speaking, yes. Mowing, debris removal, and vegetation management are the responsibility of the flood control district. We mow the majority of the channels and basins 3 times a year during the growing season. However, sometimes a municipal utility district or homeowners association choose to enter into an agreement with us where they take on the responsibility of additional mowing. And if a recreational sponsor chooses to build and maintain a recreational amenity on flood control district property, mowing may be part of that agreement as well, if appropriate.
All right. Thanks, Samson. Floor, another question for you. Harris County is flood prone as a region based on several factors that Shannon mentioned in the presentation. Flat, slow draining land, clay soils, tropical storms, or just heavy rainfall in general. Will this project protect area residents from future flooding in this area?
Thank you, Rob. That is the $1 million question. It is impossible to say that one project will completely eliminate flooding in the area. This project will reduce the risk of flooding in the area, but the risk of flooding will remain. And for that reason, the Flood Control District recommends that everyone in Harris County and surrounding areas purchase flood insurance policies. It's important to say that one project cannot completely eliminate flooding in an area. This project will reduce the risk by storing excess stormwater during heavy rain events instead of overwhelming the channel, but the risk of flooding will always remain. That is why we recommend everybody in Harris County and surrounding areas to purchase flood insurance policies. Thank you.
Floor. So our next question is for Yusuf. Yusuf, Patsy is asking, will all three segments will be completed by will all 3 segments be completed by first quarter 2027?
Hi, Patsy. Thank you for your question. sorry for the confusion, but no, the first quarter 2027 completion, that's for segment one, just for segment one. Hope that clears it up. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Yusuf. And I just want to remind everybody that you can submit a comment using the Q&A feature in this virtual meeting. And then, of course, any question that we don't get to tonight will receive a response once this meeting is concluded. And anybody who wants to view it remotely or watch it again, or if you want to just recap all of the points, you can see it on our YouTube channel and our website as well. All right, our next question is for Floor. Oh, wait, no, sorry. Samson. Samson, our next question is for you. What other opportunities will there be for public input on this project?
Sure. So the flood control district always welcomes input on projects at any time. If you don't have a chance to add in your question tonight, or if you think of a question you wished you would have asked, please visit hcfcd.org/C-20 and click submit a comment to ask a question and provide project input. I'd also like to note that a recording of this meeting will be available on the project webpage and the Flood Control District's YouTube channel.
All right, thanks, Samson. Our next question is for Yusuf. Yusuf, can you please go back and show us the specific areas where the project is taking place, please?
Yes. So again, the three highlighted areas shown on the map represent the location of the entire Greens Midreach Channel conveyance improvements between JFK Boulevard at the downstream end and Veterans Memorial Drive at the upstream end. And so the first segment of the overall Greens Bayou Midreach project, which is shown in red, is where we'll construct the channel conveyance improvements. That'll be the first project. So again, that segment one project will be from JFK Boulevard to just east of that future Hardy stormwater detention basin. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Yusuf. And Samson, switching back to you for this next question. If we are reducing flooding in this area, are we just flooding another area as a result or not?
The Flood Control District is a no adverse impact organization. This means that the Flood Control District does not create projects that will negatively impact any other areas.
All right, thank you. And for the whole panel here, do we have an estimate on when all three segments might be completed? Anybody who wants to take that question?
I could take that question unless Emily wants to chime in, but right now we only have funding available for the first segment. And then the additional segments as we are moving forward with completing the revised models for the second and the third segments, but at this time there isn't full funding for the remainder of the segments.
All right, thanks, Imelda. Next question is for Floor. Floor, this is the big question that we always get asked. Why can't the Flood Control District eliminate flooding altogether?
Thank you, Rob, for that question, and for everybody that's interested in this. Although all of the projects in the Greens Bayou will reduce the risk of flooding in the area, the risk of flooding will always remain. The Flood Control District recommends that everybody in Harris County and surrounding areas have flood insurance to insure against the possibility of personal and financial loss. Please visit www.hcfcd.org/map next. That's MAAP next, NEXT, to learn about the Flood Control District's Map Next initiative, which aims to produce Harris County's most comprehensive and complete set of flood hazard maps and information. Thank you. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Floor. Next, One last question for this evening will be for Samson. Samson, will there be any impacts or temporary detours to the roadways and trails along Greens Bayou as a result of this project?
Yeah, so there may be some temporary lane closures, or flagging operations near construction access points. As we get further, or as we get closer towards construction, we will provide more updates to the community. We always work to minimize traffic and construction impacts and keep the community informed.
All right, 1 second. Oh, thank you, Samson, by the way. Let's see. We do have one question that just popped in. Richard Cantuz asks, will there be any recreational amenities, hike and bike trails along the channel or within the Aldine Westfield Basin or Hardy Basin? Can anybody answer that one particular question?
I could take that one.
Okay.
So the flood control district cannot construct any type of recreational amenities such as hike and bike trails, but we do try to design the projects where it is easy for sponsors to come in and lay trails along the channel with approval from the district, of course.
All right. Thanks, Imelda. And let's see if any other. Let's see. Let me just check the Q&A. Okay. Well, no other questions have been coming in. So out of respect for everyone's time, we'll go ahead and cut our presentation here at 7:21. Thank you, everyone, again for joining us and being a part of this important conversation. If you think of questions or comments later, or if you're watching this on replay and you want to add something, you can submit a comment on the Harris County Flood Control District website at hcfcd.org/C-20. We also encourage everyone to get flood insurance. People usually think about flood insurance around hurricane season, which runs June to November, but flood season is year-round in Harris County, and we urge you to protect your home and property. Regarding this project, we will continuously share updates on this as our work moves forward. So be sure to sign up for our email alerts on our website and also follow us on social media to stay up to date on what we're doing, not just in your neighborhood, but everywhere across Harris County. Stay safe, everybody. Thank you, and have a wonderful evening.